We're live. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming in today. We have Paul back again today from Freight Connect. Thanks for coming in, Paul. It's been a while. Um, Need to keep in touch with you a little more often. You're a busy guy.
Busy, a little bit, sir. How are you?
We're doing okay. So it's time we talk about. You and I have been talking a lot about our previous shows that we did. Right?
Hmm.
I know you've been going back through them because you tell me all the time. Hey, what we said in this one. It's at the 1 minute mark or whatever is exactly what's happening. And I went back and did the same thing, and you're right. It's like we wrote it before it happened, but things haven't really changed. So thought what we'd do is come back today, with the benefit of hindsight, right?
Mm. Yeah.
And
Okay.
talk to people and see what they think about things about freight and what it is that they want. Is there any opportunities out there for them? And we have to get into, unfortunately, what are people willing to do to get it. That's the opportunities in a lot of situations have been there and not capitalized on. So I want to talk a lot about that today
Okay.
because I know you experience a lot of that.
Yeah.
But first, why don't we talk about first this Convoy thing? That's all up in the trucking news right now. Convoy went bye bye. Have you read about that?
Yeah. I mean, man, it was like I remember the day before, it happened, and then there was news out that Convoy was going to make a big announcement, and when they, it was like waiting the next day to hear what went on, and I wasn't thinking about it, and then all of a sudden I get this breaking news thing, and because it was either someone was going to buy them out or they were going to restructure or something of that nature. That was a thought that would be a possibility, and but to just shut down, I mean, that was a thought as well, but I don't think that was what anyone was expecting. you know and when it happened, it was, you know uh, it took me back to when Uber Freight came about,
Hmm.
and how Uber Freight was going to provide. I can't remember what the article said, but it was a direct connection, I think, maybe between shippers and carriers. But in reality, it was a digital brokerage, right?
Right.
And the way they described it, I just thought, man, this isn't going to work, because there's too many intricacies in regards
Hmm.
to freight brokering and just the industry in itself, right? You just can't throw it out there and then make it expect technology to take over. And even if that was the case, that was going to take a lot of time, because you're going to have people just get with the game of it all being digitized, and then being able to operate that way. So at any rate, when it happened, it just took me back to the beginnings. And I was thinking, man, one, what happened, what went wrong? And, you can sit back and think about a lot of things that probably happened. And I blame a lot of stuff on COVID. There's still
Right.
ripple effects of it. And so it's just the way it is. And I definitely believe that was a big part of it. You had some smart people involved that were investors. Was it your Bill Gates,
Hmm.
Jeff Bezos, I think Bono, right, from YouTube,
You too.
YouTube, YouTube. And so, so you had some really smart people involved, global people, and what happened. And so, at that point, there aren't a lot of people that were employed with Convoy. So on that, or Convoy, yeah, on that front, that wasn't really a major thing. And plus, they're in Seattle, so a lot of those people that were employed probably got swooped up in
Well,
the.
I mean, the headquarters in Seattle, but let's be honest, 90% of the workers are in, foreign countries. If you've ever dealt with them.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Okay.
so
I've not
s-
dealt with them,
yeah,
so yeah.
you
Yeah.
mentioned COVID,
Yeah.
disrupted a lot of things, and it did. But I think people also are using that as an excuse for the failed, insight into things.
Yeah.
There's this whole business model now of we never have to make money. We're going to start this business.
Mm.
and we're going to keep it alive with new investor capital for as long as we can,
Okay.
and then we're going to build it big and we're going to sell it.
Right.
They
Right.
don't have to make money hauling freight. The same with Uber. They existed for how long without making
Mm.
money, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Right.
what it was. It was just new investor capital all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and float it, and sell it, or do something else with it. And
Right.
you mentioned a whole lot of smart people involved with Convoy. Something they all had in common, but in common was nothing. None of them knew anything about the freight business. So they weren't really a brokerage. They were a tech company. They're trying to invent a new tech platform
Yeah.
and sell it. So
Yeah.
good on them for what they get. Don't come into an industry you don't have any knowledge of or experience of, and try to dominate it and reinvent the industry. You're going to get eaten alive.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Sure.
So would you say Jeff Bezos would you give him credit with um, you know, having some pretty darn good insight in regards to transportation? I mean, obviously on the technology side, obviously on the marketplace side, and then they had Amazon logistics, maybe I'm not sure, but they have been a part of this just to even move their own product. That's kind of how they got into it.
Yeah, but
But
when you have the benefit of a multi-billion-dollar industry to
yeah,
fall back on,
yeah.
and you don't have to worry if you lose money moving freight,
Hmm.
anybody could make it. I could make it.
Mm.
You know,
They didn't though. They didn't
Amazon. I'm talking
with
about Amazon freight for the
okay,
moment.
okay, okay, got it.
So, does Jeff Bezos have a remarkable insight into the freight business? I doubt it. I doubt it.
Mm,
Do they
mm,
move a lot of freight? Absolutely. Could it survive as a standalone freight brokerage or moving operation? I really don't think so. I really don't. They had
mm,
billions and billions of dollars from other ventures to invest in trailers,
mm,
in warehouses. Left to their own devices as a standalone freight company, no, I don't think they could make it.
mhm.
And then to come into a market like Convoy and try to replicate that,
Yeah,
or insert your expertise when mm, maybe they aren't what you think they are. You
yeah,
know, can it deny of his e-commerce and everything else knowledge? No, he's a very smart man, but
mhm.
doesn't know about the lane rate from St. Louis to Boston.
True.
It doesn't give him any deeper insight into that.
Mhm,
So we can't let them off the hook so easily in banning COVID anymore. It's a
mm,
ridiculous business model, and
mm.
others are following it, and I wish them the same demise because that business model hurts people
Yeah,
like myself.
yeah, yeah. Well, there's hmm.
Transfix
So
is another one. Transfix is similar, right?
Transfix,
Yeah, Uber Freight. There's
or is that
several.
Transplace? Transplace?
Transfix. Yeah, there's one called
Fix?
Transfix. It's a purely digital brokerage.
Okay.
What's another one? Load Smart. There's plenty of them.
Mhm.
There's plenty of them.
Yeah,
Emerge.
yeah. So yeah, that has become the trend, and and when you think about it, you go back to let's go back to, I think it might have been ELD time, the ELD period.
Hmm.
I'm trying to remember when all this digitizing or technology, really started to take place.
17,
Because
18, 19.
so yeah, yeah. So that would definitely be that time period when the ELDs became mandated, um, and that was, yeah, there was a lot of stuff. But I read about Uber Freight. I want to say, because I was out of town, I was in California. It was might have been like 2016 ish. So yeah, around that time. And the thing about it is that it definitely is a market that was great for disruption. You know what I mean? I mean, for technology, we really, really, really needed it. There's a lot of people who were from old school, right, and was not interested in it, right?
Hmm.
ELD or anything else, because I mean, as a kid, what do you remember? I remember the CB. That was the closest to anything being of technology, when it came to transportation, at least in my mind. I always wanted a CB when I was a kid, right? And you go on the road and, you see the truck go by and that's what you think about. But you come all the way up to 2016, 2017, and everything is moving around us. The internet's been around for a long time, right? There's a lot of opportunity for change within our industry, and a lot of need for it, even if it's just pure communication, transparency, you know. And so a lot of people came out with different things, different technology things. But then when COVID hit, it ramped it up, right? It just ramped it up big time. You had people spending more time online buying things,
Hmm.
right? Amazon made a ton of money, right, during that time period. They said it increased their timeline by 5 years, I think, or something like that. So our industry was just flooded with all this technology, and to your point, it was an opportunity for people to, not just carriers to, grab money to be able people to decide, I'm gonna get a truck and let me make a lot of money, but even when it came to technology, right? So when you have all these digital brokerages or digital this, digital that, people got into it and made some money in it, and there some of them aren't around today. Obviously, we have Convoy. I don't know how long. When did Convoy come into play? Was it
Right around that
2015?
15, 16, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So, so that was before COVID, but that was the time the disruption was taking place. And so here we are today. The thing about it is that when we look at it from the perspective of the small carrier, um, it's a big sea of technology and a big sea of a lot of different things. And it's like, what direction do I go in, right?
Hmm.
To navigate through all this, what really makes sense, what really works, what doesn't work, where do I go from here, you know? Um, and there's a lot of capacity that exists right now, and so it does make it challenging for everyone, because there's a lot of equipment that still does exist in the market. So the question does become, like you indicate right at the beginning, what do I want, or what is it that we do, or at least that's what we've been talking about, what is it that I want from this industry, and how do I navigate through it to get it, you know there's just a lot of stuff out there to look at and consider.
Right. Yeah, just the same as during the last few years when trucking was so hot, you would see, five, six teachers or doctors get together and buy a truck and try to get somebody to drive it because there's money, right? And,
Oh yeah.
on the other side of it, people injected their investments into, that the digital brokerage side of it or whatever. So a
Hmm.
lot of disloyal money came into the industry.
Mm. Mm. Bless you.
Thank you. Um, and now it's time that some of it's got to go away. You know,
Mm.
investors, trucking was the hot commodity.
Hmm.
Not so much anymore.
Right. Right. Because right now there it's still, and the thing about it is that freight is still going to move, right? We're
Right.
still going to need trucks. We're going to still need to do all that. People need to eat, people need to, and when I say that, then I start thinking about, obviously the economy, start thinking about, people spending money, or better yet, where are people getting the money to spend? Because they're saying that it's still happening. So freight is still going to move, and it's going to have its ups and downs and what have you. So again, it's where do you go? What do you look at? What do you think about in terms of what the future looks like? Like you and I, we've talked so many times in the past, and there's things that we've talked about, and then all of a sudden, maybe even a year later, here it is. That same very thing that we were talking about a year ago, it's now here. And it's a question of, if you're able to see things to come, not we can't predict, we don't have a crystal ball or anything like that, but there are things that we can look at today that can help us navigate tomorrow, you know what I mean, for
Right.
tomorrow. And then at that point, what do you do about it? Do you do anything about it? Anything about it, even though it's not here yet? Or is there anything that you can do, knowing that or believing that a certain thing is going to happen in 6 months or a year, to put you in a better place at that time, right?
Yes. Yes. And you
Because you
can
can,
definitely only change it for yourself.
yeah.
at a certain point you can't worry about everybody else. But
Right.
going back, well, let's go back a year, 2 years.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
2 years consistently. You and I had talked. Everybody's, well, what's going to make trucking better?
mm,
And we were both of the opinion that nothing's going to change in trucking until the underlying economy gets better.
mm,
And now we see, an article in Freight Waves I think you sent me yesterday that says the number one concern in trucking right now is the economy.
mm.
Well, where you been for 2 years? Why, why did it take this long?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and then, largely you go down the rest of the list of the top 10 concerns. And of course, there's this driver shortage nonsense on there again. And driver retention. I'm just like, just get out of here with that.
yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Well, the article, I mean, there's different. I think I put out a LinkedIn article as well in regards to it, and there's a going through the sources that were used that I used. Someone will tell you who was. It was a survey, right? The ATRI survey that was conducted for this year, and it was asking drivers, carriers, and then other industry people, what the top 10 concerns were, or what the concerns were. I don't know exactly how they approached the survey, but this is what came out. And obviously, carriers had a little bit of different top 10 than the drivers did, right? But I think like maybe the top three were the same. And like you said, economy was the number one overall thing. And then so how does the driver shortage play? Where does that come from? I don't know. I think 76% of those surveyed were carriers and drivers, and then the
Mhm.
rest were other industry people. But in regards to the economy, I'll just put it out there. As I have an economics degree, right? And that's always been of interest to me. Just how things work, even people. Just how people work in certain situations, right? How everything moves around and how it impacts uh, something over here, and how movement over there impacts this, and just trying to figure it all out. I enjoy that. It's kind of like a puzzle, right? So with the economy, there's been a lot of talk about it, and for a long time. And of course, COVID has been a part of a big contributing factor in regards to the way things are at this time. But the thing about it is that we've been talking about this for a long time, right? I mean, even in my course, there is a section that is economics. It's about economics, and economics, it's what drives our economy. Not our economy. I'm sorry, economics. It drives the trucking industry, right? If the economy is doing well, trucking's doing well. If the economy is not doing so well, trucking's not doing so well, right? But those are some things to really, really look at, and to really, really think about or get to know. You don't have to be an economist, right? It's just some basic stuff to know, and to put that into your plan, right? So, the survey, it's definitely interesting. I think you're right. There's some things to question, but I don't know. Did you want to go through it or look at that, or is there something in particular on there that
You got it in front of you? I don't think I have it in front of me here.
I have access to
I mean, the
the
bottom line is
list?
the economy continues to deteriorate, and as that happens, nothing. I can tell you right now, nothing on that list even matters other than that.
Got it.
That's the only thing that matters right now. Is the economy continues to deteriorate, and until
Mm,
that changes, we're stuck here or worse,
mm,
in my opinion. And
yeah.
then you add to it, new global, you know, challenges every day. It seems
Mm,
like, and the outlook doesn't seem all that rosy, really, to
yeah.
me.
Yeah. That's even a good point as well. I mean, we have the situation, and when I say we, I don't seem to think that that's inappropriate. And I'm talking about the war that has just developed, the Hamas and Israel war that's going on. Hamas, I'm sorry. And so I had wrote something about how that may impact us, and there can be an indirect, so to speak, impact. But that's a region that does um, deal with oil, right? Is going to affect us when it comes to our fuel. It can definitely have an impact on us.
Hmm.
So there's a lot. I mean, back in, what was it, February, March of last year, remember freight volume started to go down, right?
Hmm.
And it was like, okay, but a lot of people were still coming in our industry. And then at the same time, Adam, there was where fuel prices started to go up, right? And it just made it a big challenge at that point, when we were talking about freight rates. So here we are again, and we're in a region where, fuel can be impacted because of what's going on. And that honestly it's a concern. But obviously what's going on over there is just horrible,
Yeah.
with what we see that's it's going on. So it does impact us in some kind of way, and so like you say, these geopolitical things that go on, it's all over, man. It's there's things going on all over the place.
Yeah, I was it's funny you mentioned that because last week one day I was on the FMCSA website and I was trying to find the statistics on number of people getting new authority.
Uh-huh.
And
Oh
here,
yeah,
let me just search. I'm on it right now. Let's just search from
I was doing the same thing, Adam.
10, were you really?
Absolutely.
10-1 to 10-22. I'm going to
Yeah.
put certificates of authority,
Mm,
um, and reentitlements. Well,
yeah.
we'll do reinstatements. What else are our options? We'll just do that and apply. Let's see here. What was it? Didn't like my time frame here. Let's just reset that.
What did you set it for? What's your time frame?
10-1 to 10-22.
Okay.
Maybe because it's a Sunday. Let's go.
Can you do like a 30-day? Like, you know what I mean? I mean, third, like
Yeah, yeah. Let's go back
922 or something like that. 920,
922 to 10-22. I don't know if it'll accept that.
or maybe you'll
Oh,
have
the
to put in
maximum
20.
calendar range is 8 days.
Oh, is okay, okay, okay.
So we'll go
Yeah,
back to
that's
9.
right. That's right.
Let's see what she says here. It's still not taking my. So 8 days would be like a. Here, let's try that. There we go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know how many's on the page, but we got 14 pages of.
Now, mhm.
Let me see if these pages are numbered here.
Now, are these pages, are they because when I looked at it, it seemed like it had other stuff
One
in there.
authority per
And I had to,
page on this one.
okay. One authority.
I'm
Oh,
looking at the actual authority certificates. I just
the
want to see a
certificate.
list.
Right.
Let me see if I can find a list. Let's just try the daily register. See what that says. There we go. Here we go. Ooh boy. What 113 pages for a 7-day period. And there's well, let's see. 1, 2, 3. 50 per page. So
And
times
you say how many pages? 100?
113.
113. So what is that? Is that 5,000? I mean, something a little over that.
This is a noticed. Okay, so it doesn't say what their registration was. Oh, these are all new MC numbers.
New MC numbers. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so we went here. Here's how you can narrow it down. You can do some quick math here. The oldest number is 151703 to. No, this ain't gonna work either.
No.
Never mind, I have to sort through this a little bit more. But there's
Yeah.
hundreds, hundreds,
Yeah.
hundreds of new authorities here for this is just an 8-day period.
Mm.
I haven't seen how many. I think you could probably go in here too and see how many were shut down, but I don't do this live. It's just boring. Takes up too much time.
I can't remember the what. I'd have to go back in there, and then yeah, you have to go in there and kind of trick it out to get the what you're looking for, that number. But it is, there are those still coming in, right?
Hmm.
And there still already is an abundance. One of the things too is shippers, yeah, that's it right there.
Here we go.
Shippers have gotten their own equipment, to do some hauling, So when we talk about capacity, that's a part of the capacity, that has come into the industry as well.
I don't know why that page won't open. Won't do it while I got it shared, but yeah.
Okay.
So there's still plenty of people coming in, which to me is mind blowing. Um, it's a tough time to start right now. Tough time to start. But
Yeah.
anyway, let's move on from that to what the heck is it that people want?
Okay.
Because we've been doing this. Did you know we've been doing this almost 3 years?
We need to celebrate, man. When's the third anniversary of this? And then
I
we
think it's
just need to
probably December or
December.
January.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. All right. We'll
And
figure that out. We need to celebrate.
yeah, and what I've had a lot of successes, right? You've matched a
Hmm.
lot of people up with work, and we've talked to a lot of people about it. But we keep having the same failures over and over again, don't we?
Talk to
So
me. Like what?
let's talk about that. It's people come to you and put you to work doing X job. Can we use as an example a gentleman in Chicago with with multiple trucks, with no names or anything, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And they hired you and put you to work, sizable company,
Hmm.
and you come back with in a period of time 5 really good leads for him, right? Was it 5? Was that the right number?
I don't know, it's something like that. It could be more in that the opportunity is there. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
So
Absolutely.
walk us through how that went and what the end result was.
Oh, okay. Well, this
Because this is
company.
this is over and over again. This happens. So we want to try to fix this.
Yeah. Well, this one here, I think this one is probably different. This is different. I don't think this would be the exact same kind of example of what you're pointing out, but the scenario is this. Um, really good company, a lot of equipment. We make calls for them on their behalf to shippers, have created some opportunities or developed some opportunities. But, the owner, he's a busy guy. I mean, busy, 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 right? So when we talk, it's not for very long. So he doesn't have the time to do that follow up. But for him, being a smart owner, he decides, hey, I'm going to allocate some people who can do that. So he hasn't been able to reach back to the people. And that's what has been an issue for others, where in terms of that follow up, it could be where either people say they don't have time or they don't maybe know how, or something is like eliminating them from engaging in that process. And but a lot of people say that's what they want. They want direct shippers, right? And here's direct shipper opportunity, but there is more to it than it just popping up like on a load board and saying, "Hey, take me." You know what I mean?
Right.
It is relationship building, because if you think about it, as I always say, if you're building a relationship with someone, your personal life, it doesn't just happen overnight. One. Second, there's work put in. Third, over time, it gets stronger and you guys end up doing things that you would never have done before, right? Before you develop the relationship. So it's a process. But once it's done and it's developed, or you are able to do that, you have a much stronger foundation, like with you and this person that you now have a relationship with. You guys have a stronger foundation. You guys are able to really have a trust factor or whatever has evolved, but it took time. And it's the same way here in business relationships, right? So you have to get involved, but the payoff is great. You see what I mean? There's a
Right.
payoff to it, and but you have to put in that effort. So if it's a thing of where one indicates that they want direct shippers, something can happen real quick and you guys hit it off and you're starting to move freight. But a lot of times when things happen quickly, you know, the foundation is not solid, right? The foundation, it can easily go away, at the
Hmm.
slightest of anything. But if you have those longer relationships, you would believe that a longer relationship is more solid. Am I right? I mean, you would think
Right.
that there is more substance there. So that is that's what we're talking about. So with this client, he did put a couple of people in place, and what they're doing now is going through our training, right? And they are great. We spent a lot more time than I've spent before, but it's going really well. So right now they're reaching out to shippers, and we're going to be doing that again this week. But man, they're totally ready. From the beginning of the training, they weren't confident, right? Because they just didn't know. There's a lot of things they didn't know. And after up to this point, I think they're more confident, but I see more in them than they do because I know, you know what I mean? I
Right.
can tell. I can tell. So they're going to be fine. So that's where we're at. We're at the point of we're developing his people, and they will be able to actually reach out to shippers and develop those relationships. But I'm always there, to help and support.
Right.
So,
So, we can scale that down to the guy with one truck or two truck. And
yep.
sometimes how this goes is somebody comes to you saying, I want direct freight
Yeah.
or, whatever.
Yeah.
And either go through the training or you know, be their outside sales, however they want to do it,
Yeah.
come back with some opportunities, and it's a warm relationship for them. All they have to do is follow up with the call, and they don't do it. So then you have to go back to, well, what did you want in the first place? What is it that you wanted? If you if you didn't want to do this, why did you go this far with it? And then if it's still what you want, but there's something holding you back from making that phone call or doing the follow up, okay, then what is it that you need to help you make that follow up or help you make that
Mhm.
call? So that's what we want to know today, because we'd like to solve this issue, because
Mhm.
this happens, I'd say a good bit of the time.
Mhm.
And it's to be honest with you, it's a damn shame, because it's probably the exact opportunities you're looking for or you wanted, and then it dies there.
Mhm.
So what is it that you want? What is it that needs to happen to get people past that point? That's
Yeah.
that's that's what we want to know. And if anybody has insight on that, that's exactly what we want to know.
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely say anything that if e- the way I kind of put it is if you were to um, be in this perfect world, right? What is it? What does that look like? You know, in terms of what one wants, and it doesn't mean that it can happen, right? It doesn't mean that it won't happen. It doesn't mean any of that, but just without limits, what does that look like? And and then because some things are realistic, right, and some things aren't. And some things take work. I think a lot of things take work,
Right.
but at that same point it's like, all right, let's go to work,
Yep.
but I can't say I have an answer to any of them, but definitely I'd love to hear what people are thinking.
Yeah. If it's not a lot of work, it's probably not worth happening.
Adam, have you put in a lot of work in what you do? All right, we'll change the
Oh, I got
subject.
some stories I haven't even told you. I got a new one. Have I told you a recent shocking story? It would stand
Mm,
out in your mind. You would remember.
okay, now let's go with it.
Oh, no, no,
Would you
this is
care to
not a
share?
this is not a YouTube story.
Oh, okay.
We'll do
Let
that
me
later.
write this down because
We'll
I
do
want
that
to
later.
I want to hear it.
Um, yeah, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I've been on the struggle bus here lately. It's
Okay.
I'm burning it at both ends, and if that damn candle had two more ends, I'd be burning those too.
Oh.
And it's lately one step forward, two steps back, but
Mhm.
it's it's what we're trying to do. You struggle sometimes to keep your eye on that end goal, and it's easy to lose sight of that. But the people that have made it and made it through that all look. I bet you they would all look back and probably say it was worth it. I
Mhm.
would hope. Well, if you can ever get to the other side of that,
Mhm.
you're gonna be happy with your decision. It's gonna
Yeah.
be very hard. It's gonna be very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
One thing I can say over the last couple 3 years is I've gotten really good at having uncomfortable conversations
Why is that? What do you mean?
because you're gonna have them all the time,
Uh,
and
okay.
you have to learn to do it. Because if the option of not, the only alternative to not doing it is running away from it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and if you run away from it, that's hey, you're the guy that runs away from problems,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then people don't trust you,
Mm-hmm.
um, and you're never gonna get where you want to go.
Well, let me ask you this. So, like in the trucking industry, right? Trucking business. I mean, our
Hmm.
business is based upon people, right? People we meet, new people every day. And you've been, I would say, successful, and you have been at it for a while now. And prior to 3 years ago, um, just knowing the industry, I would imagine that you've had plenty of uncomfortable conversations. You know what I mean? Just,
I Yeah, oh, absolutely. But I can also say, for being honest, that prior to meeting you and developing and things,
mm,
uh, to a certain extent, I was probably that guy, at least to some extent, where it was,
mm,
you deal with some things that weren't too bad, but some of the bigger stuff was just let's just like pretend that's not happening, or let's
yeah,
not deal with that, and eventually it'll go away.
right,
Um, it's no way to do things. Eventually, it
right,
catches up to you. But
yeah.
I've learned to not do that and to deal with things, and it's not a lot of fun, but I feel better about things,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it's temporary. It's temporary.
Yeah.
Problems are temporary usually, but
Yeah.
that's part of. Okay, so then is that why it's hard for people to follow up? Because you perceive it as an uncomfortable conversation, like you're asking them for something, but by the time
Mhm.
you've spoke to them, Paul, it's not a cold. It's anything but a cold call.
Yeah. Yeah.
They know who you
Absolutely.
are. They know what you do. They're obviously open to having some kind of relationship if they asked for you to make that call.
Mhm.
So what does
Mhm.
it take to get people to do it? Does somebody need to come up with a scenario for coaching where it's like, hey, I'm going to coach you how to have these conversations, how to talk to people like that, how to conquer your fear. I mean, there's all kinds of self-help things out there for conquering your fear. Maybe
Mhm.
if you maybe if a person is going to do this, before you get to that point, maybe you need to search out some kind of self-help of how to conquer your fear
Mhm.
of to do that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
May-
It,
Maybe
yeah.
there's some kind of resource out there like that to point people towards.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that fear is always around us, right? We deal with it all the time, and and until we something really provokes us to act without, so to speak, thinking, we don't. And but it's not always good to just be reactive, to react. There needs to be some uh, real conscionable thought put into it before we do that. But as far as that goes, yeah, I think, just the psychology of it and looking back all the way to when we were kids, right? I mean, a lot of kids, they just do stuff, right? They just do whatever. They don't know any better, right?
Hmm.
Kids just don't know any better. So they do things and we're like, stop, don't do that, right? And that's how they end up learning, how to reserve themselves, right? And I don't know that that's always the best thing to do, because I think kids, they need to dream, right? And they need to not be stifled. I mean, I think you definitely need to guide them, right? And I think that's probably the better way to do it versus just to stop, telling someone to stop. And so as we get older, we continue with that learning of, we're told not to do this or what's appropriate and what's not. And what ends up happening is, I think that what ends up happening is that it limits us. We stop the dreaming and all that good stuff. So we get to a point where I got to make a phone call for my business. Is this person going to reject me as I've always been rejected? You know what I mean? I've always been told not to do this or not to do that. And by the time I make this phone call, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with
Yeah.
another rejection. But
Let's
mhm,
let's talk a couple comments here. Usually I try to save the
yeah,
comments to the end, but I don't
no,
want to
let's
lose
do
some
it. We
people.
want them. We want.
Chief Ray Holler says, "Is Paul's training feasible for a one truck operator that would like to grow?" That's a cheap freight hauler. You're looking at him. It's me. That was me 3 years ago. I'd been a one truck operator for for, I don't know, 15, 16 years, give or take. And I met Paul. Paul cold called me. I don't know if I think we've told this story. Paul cold called me one
Yeah.
time, and I was like, yeah, I don't think that's really what I'm looking for. And he called me back a year later, called me, and I didn't remember talking to him. And by that time, I had started YouTube, and I'm like, you know what? Let's let's do this. And I'm like, would you do an interview with me? And Paul's like, what are you talking about? I don't get this. I don't get what we're doing. I'm like, just follow along. And then we started talking, and he helped me, and then we started doing this. But absolutely, for a one truck operator that would like to grow, that's exactly what you need. Um, so yes, the answer is yes. Drum Jones says, does Paul help people have terrible sales skills, one truck, get direct shippers, or work with them in this tough time? That's part we're going to talk about that. So I've shared with you some of the issues we've had with doing this, and Jerome, yes, but this is what the problem we're trying to address today is if you're somebody that has these fears or hangups about something, maybe there's something else that needs to be introduced. You prep yourself beforehand or whatever to do some kind of self improvement to learn about sales or conquering your fears or negotiations or something. Decide what it is you want, and I get maybe a better way to say it is participate. Work. Maybe have a meeting with Paul and say, "Okay, Paul, here's what I expect from you. What can I do to help this process along?" Participate. Say, Paul, give me a good book to read. Should I go and get some additional sales training? Should I read some psychology books? Should I read some books on negotiations? You definitely need to sharpen your skills on freight lanes and freight rates. I'll tell you right now, forget about all the YouTube nonsense with freight and rates. It's nonsense. Unless you're learning it from a carrier, you need to know realistic lanes and freights of what has been happening for the last 20 years, not the last 3 years during
Mm,
the gold rush, because all that was temporary.
mm,
We're back to where the big carriers play right
mm.
now.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're going to be competitive with the lanes and freights, so
Mm,
you need to know that. You need to have some historical information, and there's resources on that too. So yes, but we're trying to figure out that missing piece today of what the trucker can do to give you the best chance of success. Because now you mentioned work with them in this tough time. So let's talk about that. It is a tough time. And I think the people that 3 years ago bought into what we were trying to do here with getting smaller people to work with direct shippers and such are all that much better off for it. I know I am because I'm getting new opportunities all the time. I got a new freight lane last Friday, 3 days ago. We picked up a new lane. And I know it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have decided to go down this path. I've talked about this before. When you start operating, stop trying to operate as a quote owner operator. Start trying to operate as a trucking company. It's different. Uh, and boy, I can't even explain. It's a different mindset.
mm,
It's a more long term mindset than it is a today, right here, right now. I have to get this dollar amount on this load on this lane every time. Instead, what do I need to get this lane for the next 5 years? Not that I'm going to take an unrealistic rate. Maybe I can
mhm,
be a little bit cheaper to lock this lane down for 4 years, 3 years, 5 years. And yes, people do come in and make you rebid and you lose lanes. It happens. Don't tell me it doesn't happen every day in the spot market, because it does. It may happen to you here and there a couple times in the direct market. It's still better. It's still, because now you also have a person to go along with that lane. You're dealing
mhm,
with Mary over here, and you're doing a lane for her, and Mary says, "Oh, somebody else got that lane." Well, you still got Mary, and
mhm,
next week Mary might have something else. Mary needs a quote on a different lane. If you were the person that treated her right and provided good service, and you lost that lane merely over price, she still thinks of you as a person that provided great service. She's going to say, "I got 5 lanes that are up for bid over here. Could you bid on them?" It's it's a mindset. Start thinking as a carrier or trucking company and stop thinking as an owner operator. You're not special. I hate to tell you, but you're not special.
Hmm.
I'm not special. Nobody's special.
Hmm.
So opportunity. There's opportunities right now. And did you spend the last 2 years preparing yourself for these opportunities, or did you spend the last years bitching that a broker's ripping you off? I hope you spent it preparing for the opportunity, because there's some out there right now. With with all these people going away, you're losing carriers, you're losing brokers. If you're not a type that's afraid to pick up the phone and make the phone call, there's some opportunities out there right now. I'm not doing it. I'm busier than I'm plenty busy. I don't need any more work for the moment. Uh, but if you do, what are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? What should people be doing right now, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many points that you hit upon. I'm sure forgot some of them to the, in regards to commenting on them, but they're good points, because of the vantage point that you come from, speaking on that end. And then as far as it all, we start off talking about, what do you all want? What is it that you want? What does that world look like to you? And for us, and especially me, in regards to seeing this from a broker standpoint, which is where I started way back in 2001, and then freight, doing starting Freight Connect in 2014, 2015, somewhere in there, where we work to connect shippers and carriers directly. Um, Let me see. I don't even know where to start with it all, man.
I do.
Opportunity is there. You do? Okay.
Yeah. Uh, may I have a few minutes to go on a rant?
Go ahead.
I'm in that kind of mood today.
Okay.
Um,
Just gonna sit
we
back.
don't, we don't, and I've been thinking of a way to put this out, a live stream. I'll just do it right now. We don't need another hero in the trucking industry. We don't need a new Facebook group. We don't need a new association. We don't need any of this crap. All this, we don't need to unionize. We don't need them under groups. They don't do any good. Groups become the IQ of the lowest common denominator. They do not make people smarter, they make people dumber. Groups are corrupt. Groups don't often accomplish anything. It's just an echo chamber of people to bitch back and forth. And YouTube is full of that. Facebook is full of that. All the other social media is full of that. Where are these groups fighting for truckers to get paid from surge transportation? I haven't seen any of them. They give you lip service. They haven't done anything. None of them contributed to the lawyers. They haven't stepped up. You know, what this industry needs is empowered individuals. Individuals get things done. Individuals are smart. Individuals are powerful. We don't all need to get together and do anything. We all need to stand as individuals on your thoughts and your principles and be strong on that. We need some stand up individuals. I went to court and spoke up. You can do something. Paul and I, largely has it been a massive thing? No. Paul and I started a brokerage for this purpose of, you know, helping people progress and get more into this industry. Has it been a failure? No, but it hasn't really been kind of what we hoped it would be. But it's not dead. These things take time. And there will be a time where it will be successful. I started this fuel card where, we're supposed to give all the discounts back to the people. All I do is take a ton of heat about that because it ain't perfect. Well, I'm not going to die and have anybody say that I didn't try.
Hmm.
Everybody can be like that. Everybody in this chat, everybody on YouTube, instead of sitting around bitching, could do something as an individual. Don't no more of this group nonsense, because groups don't do anything. Oh yeah, we got together and we shut down the highway around Washington. Whoop de frickin' do. What did that do except for piss off a whole bunch of people? You didn't bring attention to anything other than you got in a bunch of people's way. You know what? You know what? You know what? You know what you do? You stand up as an individual and say, you know, go screw Convoy. I'm not taking your freight. Uh, you know what, Serge? I'm going to take you to court. I'm going to do whatever I do as an individual. And when people do that, a whole bunch of people do that, and they realize that this is a movement. It's not a group. That truckers are done with this.
Hmm.
That's when you're successful. You don't have the same with these whatever groups of human rights. You don't have rights in this country because you're gay or because you're a certain color, because you're a certain gender, or because you're from a certain economic group. You have rights because you're a freaking human being. You know, you take your rights from that, because as soon as you tie yourself up with a group, you're done. You're done. You've surrendered all of your thoughts. Look around next time you're in a truck stop and there's 20 people sitting, standing around there, or eating at the counter. Look around and think about it. Do my thoughts and goals align perfectly with these other idiots? They're not all going to be idiots. Sorry about that. Do I want my wishes and hopes and desires in business to be tied to this idiot over here who's still talking about how my truck goes 106 miles an hour? No. So why would you enter a group with this person and align yourself with them for a common goal that 90% of it you probably don't freaking agree with anyways? No, it's you have power because you're an individual that can run his own business, stand on his own 2 feet, and act like a freaking grown adult. That's where your power comes from. And act like a business person. If you're like, I want to grow 5 trucks, 10 trucks, act like it. Act like it. And that's the majority of my rant, because it's somebody recently is like, we're going to form this group and we're all going to get together and we're going to change the industry. Well, how do you freaking do to you? Okay, you just said it. Now what are you going to do? What are you really going to do? You're going to do, you know what you're going to do? You're going to do nothing. And then you're going to sit around and bitch that nothing happened. Forget about it. Change it for yourself, because only you can. I can't change anything for you. And I'm about done trying, because every time I try, all I get is grief for it.
Hmm.
You change it for yourself, and you got people trying to help you. You got literally got people trying to help you. Take advantage of it.
Hmm.
Take advantage of it, because let me tell you what, like, things are tough for me right now. They really are, and it's not like financially. It's like I'm stretched pretty thin, and I'm okay with that, because we're going where we want to go. And I get criticism that, yeah, sometimes it bothers me. You can't take it personal, but sometimes, you know what? Sometimes it's personal.
Hmm.
And I don't even care, because I'm on the path to where I want to go. I got a you know what? I got a bunch of really freaking great people around me. And that's not by accident. That is not by accident. That is by design. And they're great people, and they have common goals. And you know what? We're just going to sit here and quietly get where we want to go. And everybody else just wants to stand around and complain and ask somebody else to fix it for them. We need a group to fix this for me. We all need to get together and fix this. Remember those words. Whenever you hear that, go exactly the opposite direction. Because you tell me, when has it ever worked?
Hmm.
We have groups nationwide all around the world for everything. And they rarely do a bit of good. But you know who does? Hey, Paul, you know who did do really good?
Who?
I don't know. Martin Luther King,
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Rosa Parks,
Yeah.
Malcolm X,
Hmm.
George Washington Carver, right?
Yeah.
George Washington.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of you can put a lot of names out there for a lot of people that did a lot of good,
Hmm.
can't you? I
Oh
can't
yeah.
sit back and I can't tell you what political party was in power back when McKinley was president. Pretty
Hmm.
sure it was Republicans, but I don't remember. Um, you don't remember the groups, you remember the people, don't you? All
Hmm.
throughout history.
Hmm. Yeah. There's a lot of people, individuals, like you say, names that we can identify or associate with, in regards to what they did, and then and then you can see the impact that they've had, but then again, it sometimes we look back even and say, wow, we need another this type of individual, you know what
Yeah,
I mean, to deal with the way things are today.
yeah.
We need another whoever that
We need
might
another.
be.
We need another Eisenhower.
We need
Not
another
not we need another
Eisenhower.
Oida.
We need another Kennedy. We need another King, Dr. King. We need another, and I definitely hear you where when we talk about individuals, I what eh, I think people, everybody's got their thoughts, opinions, and what have you, and it may totally be opposite of what maybe I think, but I'm willing to listen. You know what I mean? But I think that ability to be able to dialogue, but then at the same time be able then to mobilize self, is a big deal. We there are there is what's something called accountability, right? And I think then at some point it's definitely easier to point the finger elsewhere versus just looking in the mirror and saying, okay, here's the way things are.
Hmm. Well, if you're relying on a group to do all your work, you don't have to be accountable.
No, right.
You don't have to take any failures, but you can sit back and take credit for the wins because I was part of that group, but nobody will ever take it for the failure.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the failures, like even like when we, like I say, making the phone call, right? Taking it to as simple as that, making a phone call, there is an accountability in that, and there is where we don't want to be rejected, right? We don't want to uh feel like we're comfortable where we're at, right? Even in saying I want direct shippers, we're comfortable where we're at versus getting the direct shippers. People will ask me all the time, well, how does this work, my program, or how does this work, beyond this point, or what is it that I would have to do, and on and so forth. And then at some point the real stuff starts to come out, and that because we'll have real good conversations about what their fears are, right? I
Hmm.
start to hear why they really are where they're at versus taking it to the next level or actually seeking out direct shippers on their own. And it's a lot about what they don't know, you know.
I
But
gotta tell you something. Oh, go ahead,
yeah,
sir. Go ahead. No,
no,
go ahead.
go ahead. Well, what they don't know. And so real quick, what as far as that goes, you're going into an area that is dark for you. You have no clue. You don't want, like I said, the rejection, or you don't want to stumble and fall down and feel the pain. But we have to go through that, right, in order to get to where we're trying to get to. You have to. So whether it's a Dr. King or whomever, I mean, you just think about the many, whether it's failures or many fall downs or the many, being rejected, and what that individual had to go through. It pales in comparison. If I'm on the phone, what can that individual do to me? Nothing, right? But you still have to go through a process to get to where you say you want to get to, and it can happen. So if you're like you're talking about in terms of a group, and you can hide behind that, there is something called being accountable. And if you're able to be accountable, understand that that's the thing to help you elevate, right? I got a shirt about a month ago, and I bought these shirts, and they were all saying these different things, and one of them said elevate. I had to buy it. I couldn't, I had to buy it. I don't even wear it because I don't want to taint it. You know what I mean? But it says elevate, man. And that is a word that I use a lot. So here, and I'm going to cut this short because
Just
I want to hear what you had to say. Um, it is with the individual where you've got to make up your mind, right? And when you do that, there are so many things that can happen. I'm not saying that people out there, I still want to hear what people want, what is it that they want? But I just believe that, you speak it, and, if you truly want to work to go after it in a certain way, it can happen, or you're going to get further than where you're at if you really, really, if you really, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to have conversations with people, not just to talk, but just to see action behind it. Words are nothing, right? It's all about action, right? Words are nothing. You can say what you want to say all day long, but until it turns into action, that's when it starts to matter,
that's
So,
a perfect segue. Perfect. I'm glad you
mhm.
Glad you finished that. So do you know who Jocko Willink is?
I do not.
Oh my gosh, he's a Marine. I believe he was a Marine. Anyway, he's you know who David Goggins is?
Absolutely.
Okay, he's a
Love that
David
guy.
Goggins type of guy.
Okay.
They're both pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
And I saw this clip from Jocko on YouTube, and I tell you what, I decided to give it a try, and I'm glad I did. Although it sucks for me because I have
I
to stick
bet.
to it now. He was talking about in sales, right? He has people come back to him, so we failed. We failed. We didn't get it. And he's like, "You failed? Good. Good. I'm glad you failed.
Yep.
Because you know what? Now we can do better. We got that
Yep.
out of the way, and
Yep.
now we can do better."
Yep.
Uh, I'm like, you know what? That's pretty good stuff. So I'm gonna try that. And every time I fail now, I'm like, good, good, I failed. Now I can do better. And then I'm like,
Yep.
then I'm in my head, I'm like, shut up, you idiot. That sucks that we really wanted that. And then I'm like, no, we failed. Now we gotta learn and do better next time. And it's hard, but I tell you what, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
It will force you to do some things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And it's a good mantra to follow. It's pretty hardcore. I'm not whew, those two guys are intense.
I love them. I
Yeah.
love them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should check that out for Jocko Willink.
Yeah. Yeah. Goggins, I do one of his workouts, and it's pretty intense, but it's something that makes you mentally tough. That's what he talks about, and
Mhm.
then with what you just mentioned, one of the things I tell my students is this: if you don't fail, and I don't even like the word fail, I like to say just you fall down or whatever the case is, right? It's a visual. You better do that. You better, if you never fall down, you're doing something wrong.
Mhm.
If you don't fall down, that means that everything is going well. If you tell me, if I ask you how that go, and you say it was perfect, it was fine, it was whatever, I question that, because um, you have to do something wrong. If you don't already know it all, which you don't, you're going to do something wrong. But if you do something wrong, it's because you tried. You see what I mean? If you try, then let me put it to you this way, a better visual. I think I was told I was a baby genius. I think that's correct. I was a genius baby.
I think I told you that last week. That
Is
was
that
just
right?
me. Yeah.
So at any rate, so I started walking at, I'm told, 9 months, right? So I think that's around the time, 9 months a year, somewhere in there, the baby starts to walk, whatever. But the point of it is this: think about, I mean, I think all of us here have experienced a child that's in some way in our lives. And a question might be, oh, when did he start walking? Or when did she start walking? Or, oh, she's trying to walk. And when you watch this child try to walk, one, they're never successful during that time period, right? They're never successful. Secondly, you see them fall down. But what do they do when they fall down? They get back up, right? So the point is that at some point they start walking and they still fall down, but they continue to walk. At some point they get better at it and they start to run, right? They try to run. And then at some point they're on the track team, right? But we all start somewhere. And in starting somewhere, there's going to be failure, but the failure is that stepping stone to the next level. So we have to fall down. So my people, when they make calls or whatever happens, and it doesn't go well, just like Jocko, I think that's his name, I'm like, good, excellent, that was supposed to happen, let's talk about that, let's understand that, because once we do, the next time, like you said, we do better, right? The next time we do better. I've been doing this since, I've made calls since 19, yeah, 19, is it 19? Well, no, professionally 2000, no, 1995, 4, 2, something like that, 92, right? Since 1992, 92. Any call I make today, it's a practice call still. I'm still practicing every call I make, right?
Mhm.
Because I want to see what I can do better, or how can I make things change on this call? How can I make this a better call? Things have changed over the years, even in the past couple of years. So now my calls aren't going to be just the same as they were 2 years ago. You see what I mean? So I always have to be in transition, right? I mean, we didn't, what is that? We were never put on this earth to stay the same, right? We're here to grow. We're here to evolve. We're here to develop. We're here to, so I'm not going to be how I was a year ago, right? So I have to go through that process. I'm going to, even today, have some failure, but I learned from that. You know what I mean? And it's okay because that's supposed to happen. You know what I mean? Anybody I talked to on the phone, they did exactly what I did today. I woke up, you know, thankful, be grateful for that. But I was able to wake up today, right? We all
Gratitude is
did that.
something that is missing in this business right now. I
Hmm?
can tell you that.
What's that?
Gratitude is one of the main things missing right now in
Hmm.
life in general and in the trucking business is gratitude. It's one of the biggest things missing.
Hmm. Well,
And
I,
because something isn't perfect, it's not worth having or worth doing, or I'm not even going to try.
hmm. Ooh, I
I
love that.
experience that every day, and it's got me a little resentful right now, to tell you the
Yeah.
truth. It really does. I'm going through my own struggles in business and personally, and trucking has given me everything I have in life, or everything. Most of the things I have in life came from trucking,
Hmm.
and I'm pretty happy with my life, and I'm grateful for it. I couldn't imagine it would suck for me to sit here and be ungrateful for it, and that's going through a lot of tough times. 2018, COVID. Um, I'm still grateful for it. It's got me
Hmm.
here talking to you.
Hmm.
I've met some really great people doing this,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be one of those things. I mean, just thinking of the industry in general. I mean, like back in the day when I got started, 2001, and then going out on my own and with a brokerage, and then wondering why people were so bitter toward me. I talked to a carrier, and the carrier was just so bitter. I had no idea what was going on. Some of them hang up on me. I have to call them back, and it's like, well, why'd you do that? And then they would explain something to me and just say, "You all are the same, all brokers," and I'm like, wow, this is not right. I didn't, I'm not that person that he just explained, right? And I'm like, I don't get it. But when I started working with brokers, I was like, oh, okay, I see. But my point is that there are things that there are things that
Sorry, that makes me laugh.
it happened. It happened, Adam. And it's things that there are things that can make you bitter, right? That can jade you, right? And it's an
Absolutely.
unfortunate thing because it's not everyone, right? And it's not the entire industry. Maybe it seems like it's most of the industry, right? But like you said, trucking has really been good to you. Um, and there are a lot of good opportunities that exist, especially in being able to meet people and what have you. So again, the question is, how do you navigate through that? One of the things is knowing that that exists, right? I mean, there is that's always going to exist, and we'll never get away from it. And that's something you told me early on. There are going to be people that um, think this way, right? That are going to have this type of attitude about certain things.
And they
But
tend to be the louder ones, so
they
you hear it more.
well, they may be the louder ones, right? But that doesn't mean that they're the most happy ones. You know what I mean? I mean,
Right.
maybe they're loud because they're unhappy, you know? But the one thing that you did mention to me or say here today was you were talking about like-minded, right? So there are people out here that are like-minded. So when you do talk about groups, you would hope that that group is like-minded and for the good of things and are able to come together and be able to make some things happen. But even with that, it does take a certain individual that does want to get involved and does want to be accountable, right? Not from afar, but actually want to be accountable, right? And in that, I mean, I think that's a whole different group of people, that can really make things happen. So when we do talk about a Dr. King, I mean, he did have some great people that were with him, and with some companies and things like that. Say your company, you want to build your company with great people, right? So it's about Adam who sets that tone, right? And so with that, hopefully then you're going to attract people that are like-minded in that way, and you guys can do some great things. And when I say some great things, it can be this small corner of the world that you're doing some great things. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be this world changing thing that occurs. Maybe it evolves into that, but Adam, you don't need that. And I'm not saying this directly to you. I am, but I'm saying it more in general. You don't need the world to be
Man,
happy, huh?
but I do.
You you do you need the world so that you can be happy. You need to be able to affect them and be able to
No, no,
make them happy so that you can be happy, huh?
no. We're good.
Absolutely not. Yep. So
See, I'm fine staying in my own little space
yeah.
until I get all jacked up on caffeine, and then I'm like, yeah, let's take on this stupid stuff over here.
But you know what? It's fun. I think one of the things too, and I don't know if we've gotten to it yet where we have asked people to tell us or people are willing to say what it is that they want. But you know, as a child, when I think about children, and I had this conversation with a friend of mine recently last week, and I told her, you know, I don't know how it went down, but um, I was like, kids when they're kids, they dream, right? They have dreams, and we try to foster that. We try to nurture that when they're kids, right?
Hmm.
And then life happens, and you know those dreams get crushed, you know. But the thing is that if at some point we're able to get back to that, right? I think that the world would be an amazing place if kids were able to continue to dream. You know, I mean, I think it would be an amazing place. I mean, what would that be like in high school? You know, you think about it. I mean, kids can be cruel to each other, but they learn it from somewhere, right?
Hmm.
And we are very good teachers. If we didn't know that, we teach them well. And so if they were able to really be able to dream in high school and dream and be supportive and things like that, you know, what would the world look like? I don't know. I'm sure there's areas in the world that kids do get a chance to dream like that, but I don't
Here,
know.
as soon as they get a certain age, and school stifles that creativity, trying to put everybody in the same boxes. This is the way you're going to do things.
I totally
Kids
believe
left to
that.
their own devices are very. They would probably, you know, be very creative and you know, solve a lot of our problems.
Kids are brilliant, man. You know, there was something I saw. It said, I don't know, you may have heard this, and it was maybe a TikTok thing. I don't know. And it was like, the laziest people are the most creative, or something like that. You know, and it was this guy. He was eating from a bowl, and when he was done eating, and his girlfriend, I guess, was sitting there next to him, and then he just started unwrapping the bowl and the spoon and the cup because he had put plastic all around it, right? And so he just took it all off, and then he stuck it in the back, I guess, in the cabinet or whatever, so he didn't have to wash it, right? So it's
Nice.
like, huh, interesting. So, you know, the thing is that when we get an opportunity to dream, you know, and kids are able to get together and be kids, because we're going to be like, we're going to tell them everything that they should not do. You know what I mean? You should not be over here hanging
Right.
out, or you should not be over here doing this, or you should not be saying this and on and so forth, or you should not be dancing like that, or you should not be listening to this and what have you. Again, we still have to guide them, but we don't want to stifle their ability to create, their love to imagine, you know, their the whatever it is that they want to bring to us. If we all of a sudden say, no, that's stupid, that's crazy, that doesn't make sense, or okay, fine, go on and, you know, go over there, they will go over there. But I don't, I just love to hear what kids have to say and what they're thinking, because it might even be something that helps me, right? Or it might be the next big thing that helps a lot more other people, you know? And
Hmm.
I don't know. That's just what do you got there?
This
Joyce?
says read barbarians to bureaucrats.
Hmm.
Okay, I heard of that.
Okay.
So let's
Okay.
get back on freight here for
Yeah.
a minute. What's what would it take for somebody to, if you were the person who decided you were looking for freight, ready to expand, Convoy just went away. Convoy had a lot of customers, a lot of shippers. One gentleman here that was in Missouri. I know he does a good bit of freight for Convoy regularly.
Mm,
Um, how does
okay.
he? Convoy's gone. How does he go about reaching out and saying, "Hey, I know you were dealing a lot with this particular broker. I was the one that was doing the loads. They're gone. And non-compete is not an issue anymore. How do we go about doing business together directly?"
Is this someone's on right now who?
If he's still in here, he was in here earlier.
Oh, okay. All right. I'd love to hear from him.
How about
From
how
him.
about how about this? I'm gonna send him a link
Uh,
because I got his email. If he's still in here, I'm gonna let. How about we do a little sample coaching here? If he comes in, you can talk directly to him and say, "Hey, um, tell me about it, and maybe here's how you go about it." What do you think about that?
no, he come in. I'll be honest with you. I'm more intrigued to hear from him. But that would probably be a part of the whole process. But yeah, definitely. I
Don, I'm sending you an email right now with the link. If you're still here, you're welcome
cool.
to come in.
Yeah.
There, sent. We'll see if he's still around.
So, is there anyone else in the group that is willing to admit that they work with Conway, whether it's quite a bit or a little bit, or just what their experience had been, and not to rag on anyone. That's not the
No.
reason I'm asking at all, because what we're all about is moving forward and being able to make some things happen.
Okay. Or is there anybody that has an answer to what is the holdback? If Paul was to come to you and say, "Hey, I have this shipper or receiver that's interested in talking to you. We've already spoken about you." Um, Anybody that wants to explain the psychology of why what is your fear in making that phone call? What are you afraid is going to happen, or what is leading you to be uncomfortable about it? Because that's the only way we can really kind of work with around some of this, is to just get it out there and see what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
I can text that guy too. You want to come on with Paul? We'll see. I think he might be gone.
Okay.
But at any rate, so the Convoy thing. I imagine Uber Freight. Oh, here he is right here. Here he is right here. This is Don. Meet Paul. Paul, this is Don.
What's up, Don?
Hey, how are you guys? I was not
Good.
expecting that. I was about 2 minutes behind on the stream.
Good to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you. I've talked to you before a few times.
Have you? We've talked on the phone?
Yeah, I'm actually in your program. I'm slowly getting through it.
Oh, okay.
Slowly.
Oh, are you're the training program?
Yeah, I might be under WCF Invader. I forget what my username is on there. I got it all saved.
Okay. All right. Well, you know what? You don't even have to whisper it, but how has it been? You can be as brutally honest as you want, because it'll help me in terms of if any adjustments are needed. But how's it been? The training?
It is an in-depth, like a large amount of knowledge that you got built into that program. Like, it's a lot more thorough than I even expected, honestly.
Okay. Is it helpful?
Yeah, it is. Like I said,
Good.
I'm probably like 20% through it.
Okay.
I just got so much going on right now, but I'm
Yeah.
trying to get through it as quick as I can, even though it's like a snail's pace. I'm probably going to have the record for the slowest time from beginning to end for you.
Well, that's okay, man. You saying that if it's seeping in and what have you, and when we get together, you and I get together, right? When that happens, that'll be okay, because we'll review some stuff and it all makes sense, right? And we'll just take it to the next level. So good. Well, I appreciate that. So man, you've been dealing with Convoy, is that right?
Convoy.
Or Convoy. I always say Convoy, and that was way back in the day. But Convoy. There we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. My last load, well, not the last one, but one of the loads I hauled this past week actually was a Convoy load. So I think they canceled all their loads on Wednesday, and this one was on Thursday.
Oh.
So it dropped off, and then I found the broker that actually got it, and ended up still doing that load. But it was very strange for sure.
Yeah.
Did you get paid everything they owed you?
Yeah. Thankfully, Convoy did that quick pay, so I never got any. Like I got paid for all my loads.
Okay.
Good. Have you? So how long was Convoy a big part? Was Convoy a big part of your portfolio?
Not really. I mean, it
Not
was.
really.
So I don't do factoring because I like having that cushion of like 30 days invoices out. I like having that cushion in case something goes wrong. I still have that cushion coming in, and then I could kind of work harder if something happens. Like say I'm down for 2 weeks, I could work harder to kind of catch up before that cushion is exhausted.
Right. Very good. So then, have you done any direct freight or had an opportunity to seek out direct opportunities?
I've been working on it. I haven't got any yet.
Okay.
There's a couple battery places that are very interested, but they haven't actually went through me yet.
Okay. So can you tell us, like, share with us what your experience was from the beginning, let's say from you deciding, hey, you know what, I'm going to reach out to these guys, and then, what that time frame looked like and what the process was like up to this point.
So I think I talked to you, I think probably just like Adam. I talked to you 2 years, like you called me, and you asked me some questions. And we talked probably for like an hour and a half each time. And first time I didn't go through with it. Then the second time I still didn't go through with it. And then a couple of months later, I decided to go ahead and sign up. And I went ahead and started the program. It was like in probably August. I started the program.
Okay. And then, like, with outside the program, as far as the battery company that you're working with, to try and did you talk to me about the battery company or
No, not yet.
no?
So
Okay.
it's just independent shops that they sell batteries, and then they need their battery cores hauled off to be recycled, and that's all that is. I'd be hauling their cores
Okay.
to be recycled.
So how did you get involved in that conversation? How did that come about? Or, the opportunity, how did it come up for you?
So the battery shop, the manager is basically his. So the guy that works there, he also works there with the wife of the owner, who actually is kind of like the whole district. Like I guess this independent shop is kind of confusing to me, but it's like an independent shop, and the owner could have someone else come in and do it direct. And whenever I was pulling up, like you got to back in off this busy street, and I just completely blocked the road with my semi, backed in like probably just like Adam would 100 times, like just block the street and back in, and you could do it pretty safely if you're quick. Well, the thing is, all the people that pick up the loads there, they see this and they're like, what in the world am I supposed to do? So they actually make the employees come out, block the street, and take forever to get backed in. And I got backed in one shot, and the employees there were like, wow, how in the world did you do that? We normally have to come out here and block the road. It's just a little small thing like that.
Yeah.
Like I was like, don't everyone do that? Like, and they're like, no, we normally have to block this dang road for the truck drivers to get in.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's just a little thing like that. And then I talked to them, and I was like, do you, because this is all brokered out, and I was like, are you all, I mean, you all seem like you like how I got it in here on being professional, because they were very over the top, like how professional I was, because I actually had to use a pallet jack to move the batteries up to the front of the trailer because they don't have a dock. This is just a small shop, and most of these shops, that I guess that's the reason they kind of would like to go through me. They haven't pulled the trigger, but they like the idea at least, is because I don't complain. They throw a pallet jack up there, and I use a pallet jack, move it to the front, and don't complain. And
Wow.
like they just can't believe that.
Wow. So then, while everyone else is complaining, right? You're shining by not complaining, huh? You
Exactly.
actually, so Adam, like when we said, there's the people, they're the ones that talk louder, the ones that are all
Hmm.
jaded. But here's someone here who is not complaining, and he's shining brighter than them all.
Right.
Yeah, great. That's awesome. So for this, then there's a thing that I don't know if you've seen it, Adam. Is I'm doing a series on first impressions, right?
Yes.
First impressions.
Yes.
Okay. So it's a 9-part series, and I have one. The other one I should be putting out tomorrow, I believe. But it's all about first impressions and the importance of that. You obviously made a first impression. You see what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean,
Darn good one.
Yeah.
these things that we don't recognize or realize how important they are. They make a difference. One of the things I also say is that you never know when someone. I think it's in there. It's in the article, but you never know who's watching you, and you never know when they are watching. You just never know. So if you, as Adam talks about, being an individual, right? If you are able to figure, so to speak, your stuff out, as an individual, not looking for the groups, but you do your thing, you take care of you. And when you are doing the right thing, or you're doing those things that other people aren't doing, so at some point it's going to take notice. Somebody's going to notice, right? And opportunity all of a sudden opens up, right? But you have to put yourself in that position, right? You always have to be prepared. So when Convoy all of a sudden shuts down, that's not what we want. We don't want that to happen. But if something like that were to happen and you're prepared, like you said, if you back up and they're like, whoa, look at this guy, and they're all goo goo gaga over you, right? And they can't find anyone else to help them. You're the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that, I commend you. I'm impressed, and I'm glad that you did come on, and keep backing up the way you do.
And it sounds to me like, backing up a little bit, Don was ready for the opportunity. So if he'd have gone in there with the beat down mindset of, they'll never talk to me, or no interest in dealing with me, he was prepared to have the conversation and overcame the first hurdle, which is just ask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just ask.
yeah. So are you working with anybody else? Are you reaching out, or has that
I'm,
helped you a little bit? That little scenario, that situation that
yeah.
occurred.
I reach out a lot, but I think my biggest hurdle is a lot of the places that I typically go are these larger corporations, and they won't even hardly even talk to me because, say it's like Dr. Pepper or Coke, it's like I only got one truck. I still ask them, but they
Yeah.
almost laugh at me. Which,
Well, and that can happen. You just can't be hurt by it.
yeah,
It's not that they won't do business with you. It's just maybe not at this time.
yeah,
5 years from now, you might be in a totally different situation, or
yeah,
next year, or whatever. But you're practicing. You obviously haven't gone home and cried because somebody said no to you, right?
exactly.
Nobody said no and at the same time shot you in the face, right? So it's not like anything bad happened. It's good practice. I've told no, and then sometimes people will give you the yes, but then dodge you. It happens.
Yeah, it's a part of the
Just not
process.
every time.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not your target anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least not right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a question for you with, like you say, Dr. Pepper, right?
Yeah.
So tell me what is it then that you were able to learn from your encounter with Dr. Pepper in approaching them? What did you learn? What did you walk away with?
So those places, Dr. Pepper and Coke, the biggest hurdle is just getting past the people up front and getting to the person who actually has that decision making. And that's kind of my biggest hurdle with both of them. I can't even figure out who I'm supposed to be talking to, because the people that check you in, they aren't going to tell you. First of all, at least they won't tell me, because they'll ask me, was like, how many trucks you got? And I'm like, one. And they're like, well, no, we need someone with a lot more capacity than that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And who is that you're talking to?
The one I've talked to the most is Dr. Pepper,
Oh, I'm
because there's
sorry.
there's a certain lane that I'll run where
Mhm.
I'm about one of the few carriers that'll run it because of where I'm based out of.
Mm-hmm.
it makes
Okay.
sense for me to run it, but like other guys don't want to end up where I end
Of
up.
course. Right. Right.
Keep that's a good tool for you. Keep using that. Eventually, somebody's going to listen. You might catch them on the right day when they're like, "We can't cover this stupid lane," or everybody we put on it screws it up.
Yeah.
Eventually,
Hmm.
you're going to hit them on that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
keep it up because the other part about this particular lane, where you back into it, it sucks. It's a hard back.
Oh
If
yeah.
you're the docks are so close together that if you're not careful, you're ripping a door off.
Mm, yeah. Well, then there's another piece to it. I mean, you're talking about being skillful at your craft, right? So, there's always opportunities to be better, to be different, to be, that anomaly, so to speak, the one that, I mean, that's what makes a difference. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's what really makes a difference. Now, with what I was asking you about Dr. Pepper, I was wondering like what was the title of the person that you were talking to? And obviously there are people who don't have the authority or have been directed that, hey, you can only talk to, or no, well, that would not be able to get you connected with who you need to get connected with, right? So there are other avenues that one can go, right? And this is something you and I'll talk about when we get together, okay? But there's different ways that you can go about to get to who you need to get to or to figure that out, right? And when you're able to do that, you may hear a whole different scenario, right? In
Yeah.
terms of what can be done, what can't be done, so with whom you're talking to, they don't have the authority to make those type of decisions, right? They might be right, they may not be, who knows? But again, there's there you can communicate, go through a different avenue to try and get to where you're trying to get to. Now, with what Adam mentioned, that may not be your target right now. You know what I mean? That just might
Yeah.
not be, who you need to be moving for in that way right now. But as you learn how to communicate with them, or you do communicate with them, and you're finding out more and more about Dr. Pepper, even if it's that you can't do anything for them, you're just learning, oh, this is your process and what have you. And as you learn that, when you go down the road and work with a different opportunity, you have knowledge, right? You have knowledge how
Yes.
Dr. Pepper operates and things like that. And as you gain that, that may help you when you are communicating with this other shipper, right? So always look at it as an opportunity to learn. I don't care who you're talking to, at what level, you know what I mean? Always look at you're gaining information as knowledge so that you can learn, because it's going to come handy somewhere at some point in time. Because watch, last thing I'll say is this: you're going to be the one to ask those questions and understand, whereas someone else, all these other people that are not wanting to go there, right, and they just want to complain, you're going to be the one that has the knowledge to go
Yeah.
the next level. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Something that's kind of popped up in my head here, Don, too. You might want to try is if you're doing this lane that nobody else likes, get to know the people on the other end of it. Get to know the receiver. Try to get your face in their head, and someday they might make a comment, and you can say, "Oh, you're happy with the service I provide you and stuff. Well, maybe would you mind putting in a good word for me? They know who's in charge of shipping because they talk to them, and that'll get your name in their head, in their system, right? And then maybe when you call, they'll be like, "Oh, Don, this is the guy that the people love down there in Arkansas." Right? So
Yeah.
you're already in their head, and that can take some time. Are you familiar with the people on the other end at the delivery?
Oh yeah. I think that one of the first, it was either the first time or the second time I delivered there, I talked to them about it, and they were immediately said it's set up by the shipper. But I have talked to them.
Mm-hmm.
These things can take time. You never know,
Yeah.
and it may never happen. But um, then your name is in their head. You're in their space. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, I'm telling you, that's yeah, that sounds like just, I don't know, fun opportunities, just gotta work it. I always say this, with what you do, I think you gotta love the grind. You know what I mean? If you really enjoy what you're doing, right? And for me, man, and Adam knows, I mean, he puts in a lot of work in what he does. I know it. and he knows I put in a lot of work, and for some reason I really like the grind, At the same time, I want to see the result, you know what I mean? I want to see something come of it. But I mean, I don't know. I keep going back to the grind, and it's like, because Adam will tell me, Paul, you got all these ideas, but just go ahead and put one of those things to work. You know what I mean? And it's like I might come up with another idea and another idea, but the grind, just trying to figure it out, for me, I enjoy it. So me talking to you and telling you the things that I'm telling you, it's because of the grind. It's
Yeah.
like you just keep trying this way, or you try it that way, or you go straight ahead, or whatever the case may be. But as you learn, man, I'm telling you, sometimes we'll look back and not realize how far we've grown. You know what I mean? We have to look back sometimes, sit back and be like, man, I started 2 years ago and this is where I was, right? And here's where I'm at now. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
sometimes we can do that within a month's time period. I mean, there can be growth within that time period, but there's always an opportunity for growth. So yeah, I'm glad that you called in, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, thanks, Don. I'm kicking you out. You're out of here.
All
You're
right. Thank you.
you're fired. Thanks, buddy.
cool. I
That
like
was
that.
cool. He's doing it. I've talked to
Mm,
him a few times. He's really putting the effort out there. So want to
yeah.
make sure to give him a first opportunity. Um, you mentioned that you enjoy the grind and this and that, and we've talked before about, I think you're very talented. I just got to tell you a story of an experience we had. You obviously, if I said the name Casey, you know who I'd be talking about.
Yeah,
And and
absolutely.
and you're out there trying to get him some freight, and there's somebody who called for them in Wisconsin here at a cheese place, and this dude, I don't think anybody told you, but that this dude is like legendary for not talking to anybody.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
and you kept him on the phone like 45 minutes. In case he's like, I don't know how he did that. This guy, I've tried calling, he won't talk to anybody. So I'm like, well, let's have a little competition here, see who can keep him on the phone the longest. So uh, Casey and I were on the phone together, and I called this guy. I mean, I kept him on the phone like 45 seconds maybe. And then it was Casey's turn to call him, and the guy's like, click. He's like, he says, yeah, I got all your information. Click. Probably like 7 seconds. Like,
Oh my
and I'm like,
goodness.
I'm telling you, man, he's the master at that.
Oh
So
wow.
uh,
That's too
that's
funny.
pretty funny. I don't know how you keep some of these people on the phone. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. There's some people, man, that will tell me, I've only got a minute, and I've got to go to do this and do that. And next thing I know, we're on the phone for a while, and I'll come back and I'll be like, I know you got to go, whatever. And some of them have told me, yeah, I don't know how you can. They'll even admit it. I don't know why I stayed on the phone with you this long. And but yeah, the grind. I mean, one that I think I had mentioned it here. I'm always practicing as long as I've been doing it. So it's always a practice to whether it's to keep people on the phone a little bit longer, right? Or to get them to tell me a certain thing or to do this or to do that. So it doesn't become about me. You know what I'm saying? It
Hmm.
doesn't become about me. And I think once we are able to get beyond that, because calling a broker, it's a lot about me. You know what I mean? Because I'm calling you and I want this. I want to know more about that. I want this load. Nope, it won't fit on my truck. It's too heavy and blah, blah, blah. And then you move on, right? So everything that you want out of it, right? But it's never about the mutual or about them, right? So when I'm talking to the shipper, it's not about me. I mean, the intro is short, but the interview, the conversation that we have, it's pretty long, but it's not about me. If they ask me, I'll tell them whatever. But I want to hear them. So, and
Interesting.
people like to talk about themselves too. So.
Yeah, yeah. Jeremy says he sells fuel. Like he shies away from the customer that was the cheapest guy in town because usually those customers are the least loyal and hardest to deal with. Y- Yeah, you're gonna find out sometimes for that to be true.
Mhm.
And some people, uh, I haven't experienced this for myself, but I know of other people just from the outside looking in. Some people only ever go with the cheapest guy in town because they've never had anybody give them anything else.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
So they've never had anybody, dazzle them with service or knowledge or anything. Not that saying that that's going to work with this particular person, but some people have just never had anything else given to them. So
Right.
it's always worth a try. It's definitely always
Absolutely.
worth a try. Tell them
Yeah.
tell them why you're worth more than the other guy, and then really prove it to them.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen people. Well, I've talked to people like load is this, load is that, cheapest bid gets it. Like
Mhm.
won't even take the time to tell you anything about it.
Mhm.
There's a guy out in New Jersey we talked to that one time like that. I'm like, okay, well, that's not really the person I care to deal with anyway. I'm not gonna go out of my way to haul their freight cheap just to satisfy them. And obviously, they care nothing about service; it's only price. So
Yeah.
yeah, they have
Yeah.
lessons. They don't know it, but they have lessons to learn too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. There's where I've communicated with people, and there are people who will give you the impression that they know it all. You know what I mean? And that can be intimidating. It used to be intimidating to me back in the day, but I realized that people are just people, and people sometimes put up that facade for whatever reason. But I don't call them out on it. I just kind of go with it to the point where they start to feel comfortable with me, and we're able to have real conversations. Cheap, when we talk about things being cheap, oh my God, if the cheapest, there is no loyalty, obviously, when we're
Hmm.
talking about just looking at the price, because they've already told you right up front, it's price. That's what it is. But when there are other things behind it, when you are able to communicate with them and you uncover other things and you're able to talk about those things, then you have a whole different conversation. You have a whole different type of communication going on, a different type of relationship that's being developed, and it's where, as they say, people like to work with people who they know, right, or who they
Hmm.
like, and it goes beyond the cost thing, right?
Right.
Because you are actually talking about something that matters to them, something of value to them, and people are willing to pay for that. Now, sometimes it is where it goes beyond that. It goes to the higher up, and the higher up doesn't care who you like and who you don't like, right? And it's
Hmm.
like, well, the directive is this is what I have to do. But on your end, you don't allow that to bitter you, right? To make you jaded or anything like that. You continue to hold true to what you believe, your values or what have you, and to the point of believing that, you know what, I'm in this business, there are people who need my help, and I provide, the value that I come with, is something that somebody wants and needs, right? But you've got to do your part. You've got to bring something to the table that's going to be of value, and
Yeah.
then and that's me not thinking about me. You know what I'm
And one,
saying?
yeah, something you said there that bears elaborating on is you can't let one failure sour you.
Right,
You're
right.
gonna have failures. It's not because you're a failure. Sometimes it's just stuff doesn't work out.
Nope.
And yeah, it can be
Right.
hard not to take it personal,
Mm-hmm.
but that's only you can control that. So that's where the self-help thing comes in, or whatever you have to figure out how to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this last February, I got my ass fired from a place that I
Mm-hmm.
was hauling direct for
Mm-hmm.
because of something that a driver did.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a lot of heat for that, but I thought about it all summer long, and then the new season was coming up, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna ask again, if I can be a part of this again this season.
Mm-hmm.
And time had passed. She's like, absolutely, absolutely. We laid down some ground rules of what I would and would not do, and it's just like old times. So,
Nice.
well, to an extent, I mean,
Right.
but
No, I mean, you're back
it's gonna time
in.
heals all wounds a lot of
Yeah,
times.
absolutely.
Sometimes it doesn't, but
Yeah.
you have to. That's where you put your business hat back on, and you got to set aside your feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awkward for me to ask, but
Mhm.
I'm like, worst you can do is say no and then never talk to me again. In which case, what do I care? It's
Yes,
not gonna
sir.
like she's gonna be in my face every day telling me how much I suck.
Yeah.
I'll hear time and then it'll be on
Yeah.
and move along. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's can't let one thing sour you, and you
Yeah.
have to find a way to get over in your head
Yeah.
that just because one person said no or one person hates me or whatever
Yeah.
doesn't mean everybody does.
Right. Right.
Uh,
There. Yeah.
with both feet here says, is it important to identify? Oh, first off, fr8connect.com. We're sitting here talking all about Paul all day, or with Paul all day, and I forgot to give out the website, fr8connect.com. Freightconnect.com has got his phone numbers, and Paul trains people or can help act as your outside salesman. Especially specializes in small companies,
Mhm.
helping you find opportunities. Now, don't be of the misnomer that direct freight necessarily means contract freight. I have people that I work with. I just pulled a load for them on Friday. I pulled direct for this customer. I just get when they got an overflow. And you know what? I am pleased as a peach about that. I pull a
Mm.
load for him. The last one I pulled for him was probably 2 months ago.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm cool with that. Um, it'll grow into something bigger because when
Mhm.
he asks, I'm there and do a good job, and he'll continue to ask. So I'm cool
Mhm.
with that. Over direct does not have to mean contract where you have to take this load every Monday forever. Does not have to mean that. It can
No.
mean a whole lot of different things. So the commitment level can be different for everybody.
Mhm.
With both feet, is it important to identify potential shippers before involving Freight Connect? I tell you what, it can certainly help, and it shows that you are trying to be involved, trying to help yourself.
Mhm.
If you come in and give Paul 5 targets, it's faster than Paul having to sit down and figure out, okay, who am I going to call for this guy? Well, if you come in with already some people in your head, you're only helping yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. With that, that's a great question. That it's asked. We asked for you to bring actually 10, and I asked for that because I want you to sit down and think about it. Right. I want you to sit down and be able to say, okay, hey, you know what? I've reached out to these people before, or I drive this way every single day, and I've always wondered about that company, or I've heard about this company, or I don't know, let me think about it, I need three more, let me come up with three more. Right. And it doesn't mean it's going to take you a year, a day, or an hour, or a week to figure it out. Whatever it takes, do it. Right. Because I want you to be vested. Right. I want you to understand, hey, it does take some effort. You put down these shippers, and we'll see what happens. We'll work through it. We're going to make the call for you. Now, at the same time, we're going to generate a bunch of leads that we'll call on your behalf. Right. Ones that we never called before, we've never talked to before. So it's a cold call when we make it. And by the time it gets to you, these people have some familiarity with who you guys are. They have agreed, yeah, hey, let me talk to them, whether it's they're ready to do something now, or maybe it's just an introduction, at that point in time. But the whole thing is about, and Adam, you and I, when in the very beginning, it was the same thing with you. It was
Yeah.
where, there was a few that you said, hey, give these guys a call. We called, and then you said, I told you, hey, it's time for you to give them a call. They're interested in hearing from you,
Mhm.
and it doesn't mean that when you make that call, you're going to have no fear. Right. But at the same time, I'm going to coach you in how to do that. Right. I'll help you through that, but it's a process. Right. And we're willing to take the hand and walk you through that. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
The,
that's a good
the
question.
the first thing you said was, yeah, I want you to be vested. I think you need to require people to be vested. They
Hmm.
have to be. If your
Hmm.
heart's not in it, then your heart's not in it.
Yeah.
So, cheap. Oh, I lost the comment. Come on back here. All right. Cheap Freight Hauler says, had a shipping manager tell me Friday that he would rather deal direct with trucks than brokers. Now I just have to get through the corporate office. Well, I would say if he made that statement to you, that means that's really what he wants, and maybe lean on him to maybe help you find that information. That's a that's somebody just opened the door for you. Now walk through it.
Yes. That
Uh,
door
you know
is
what?
wide open.
That's. I'm glad you brought that up, cheap freight hauler. I got to cover up a name here, or here I'll cover up the first part of the phone number. Last week Monday, I did that exact thing, and here's the name and the phone number of the person I got to call. I was at a cranberry farm up here in Wisconsin. We're big in cranberries, if people didn't know. And there's a giant cranberry place 30 miles or so from the house, and I've hauled out of there sporadically. And I haven't hauled out of there since I met Paul. And I was over there the other day and I saw how busy they were. They just built some new buildings. I said, hey, Is this a lane you guys do all the time? Are you ever looking for outside carriers? I said, I'm 30 miles from here. I got 8 trucks, and I could commit something to you. And she says, yeah, call this name and this phone number. If I didn't ask, I
Right.
wouldn't have got it, but I
Right.
asked.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So she could have very easily said no,
Yeah.
but she just opened the door for me to make that phone call.
Hmm.
So cheap freight hauler, yeah, anything other than an outright no is a win.
Yeah.
Even a maybe is a win.
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction, and we talk about this opening the door. I used to train on that. I forget, I had a program that I created when I was with the brokerage, and it was all about, because I remember when I was a kid, I had to go and knock on the door and for my fundraisers, right? If somebody opened the door, because some of them wouldn't open the door, they just talked to me through the screen, right? But if they opened the door or let me in, then okay, this is a win. You know what I mean? This is what needs to happen before we actually earn the business, right? Or get the business. So the door is open.
Yeah. So Paul, I think that he needs to talk to you. I don't know. It's a matter of,
Yep.
would you ever do something like customize something where a person can just call in for like a 1 hour coaching call? I think in addition to your program,
Mhm.
maybe something like that. Would you ever do something like that?
Totally. Totally.
Okay, come up with a fee. I mean, it sounds like this guy's like close. He just okay, so needs to just sit down and ask you a bunch of questions. I don't
Hmm.
know, and obviously there needs to be a fee for that. You can't be doing those things for free because it's
Hmm.
valuable. But
Hmm.
cheap freight hauler, if you want to reach out, work something out between the two of you. And he says, there was a shipping manager for a corporation with dozens of locations across the country. Well, that's awesome. So there's a lot of possibilities there. One. Number two is even in corporations like that with a lot of locations, I found a lot of times each individual location handles their own freight.
Hmm.
Not always, but a lot of
Hmm.
times they do. So
Right.
don't be intimidated by that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he says he brought him a load from a manufacturer I hauled direct for, and you can use that. Use that saying, I'm familiar with your product. I'm familiar with what you do here, and I already haul some of it. I bring things in here on time, undamaged, and I'm going to be here because I'm bringing a load in. So that can
Yeah.
count for something.
Yeah.
Oh, is my sound quality poor?
Not to me, but
Okay,
maybe, I don't know.
maybe I need to look into that. So we're talking about.
So there's another one.
Oh, that's the
Is
same one.
that the same
Okay,
one? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. And just to kind of, because we talked about so many different things. One, I'll say this, just to kind of, well, not just to kind of, because I think it's important. There's something else that we're doing here, and we're talking about, like I said, I had the series out on first impression, right? And we're talking about how do we talk to people, how do we get over our fears, or are there any fears? What is it that we really want? And all these different things. Convoy shutting down. Um, the simple thing of it is, I'm here. I got in this business for a reason, right? Is that reason still the same? You know what I mean? Or did I allow the big monster to take over, and now it's just about me trying to survive? You know what I mean? Just trying to and be grumpy about everything. And that can happen, that can happen. But getting back to, why we got into it, it could be just to make money. It could be, a family thing. It could be a legacy. It could be, community. I mean, there's tons of reasons, and there's tons of opportunity beyond just having the successful business. There's a lot of good things that can come of it. And so for me, it's about how do we get back to that where you can really be excited about, what you do. And so, one of the things we're going to be coming out with is we're going to have where um, you'll be able to, and I've told you about it, your carrier packet. We really believe that that's a part of your first impression. So we're going to allow where we can actually create that for you. Um, we still do that. We do that within our programs, but that in itself, there's a lot of things that carrier packet can help you with, what we call a carrier packet, that can help you with in regards to trying to get back on track with why you got into this industry, and help you to be more excited about what it is you're doing, because you are providing a service that's of value, and not just of value, but I mean, it's needed, that you have something to offer that is needed. But
Hmm.
when you bring your company to the table, when you are like, hey, we are a company that you want to work with, whatever that looks like, there are people that are going to want to work with you, but you really got to get honest with yourself. You have to get honest with you about why you're here, what you're trying to accomplish, and how you're going to go about that, right?
Hmm.
And so, any rate, so I definitely want to have some conversations and help some people with that. But we're going to be coming out with something, like I said, that should help in that respect.
Okay. Jerome Jones says, my issue is finding the opportunity in my area that is consistent. And that can be a struggle. But maybe you have to start with the inconsistent. It's it can be tough, but that can turn into consistency. You say, well, I can find a consistent lane on the broker board from this broker. Well, how often have you done that? And then the broker turns around, well, I lost that lane. I don't have that lane anymore. Or somebody else is doing it cheaper. So the illusion of consistency is sometimes just that, sometimes an illusion. Um, just when you think you figured it out, now there are places that'll do the same lane for 20 years. Um,
Mm,
prove Sometimes you just got to prove your value to them, or by taking something inconsistent, you prove that you're versatile, you're flexible, uh,
mm,
and sometimes you just got to earn your way in, right? Pay
mm.
your dues and earn your way in. It's but only you can decide that for yourself.
But Adam, to add to that too, because a lot of it is what we're talking about is like, you do this, Jerome, or another carrier, if you do this, or I mentioned, hey, provide more value, and the question is, what does that really mean? What does that look like? And we're talking about building these relationships, it does go beyond just me bringing my truck in and showing you, hey, I can pick this up on time, I can deliver on time, and I can secure it well, and it'll get there in one piece and what have you. You still want to have that interaction, with people. You know what I mean? You still want to have conversations with them. You want them to get to know you, Jerome, right? And you want to get to know them, whoever that is, Sally or Beatrice or whomever. You want to get to know each other, right? That doesn't mean that every weekend you guys are going out or anything. I mean, you want to get to know each other on a professional business relationship level. And so when you have these interactions and these conversations and communication, that makes a difference, right? So then they can feel like, you know what, let me call Jerome, right? Or I know, hey, Jerome, this is what's going on. And so I know I need to just reach out to Jerome because I know this will get taken, or I know Jerome is going to, there is that level that we're talking about in terms of developing, the relationship. Not necessarily, hey, I've got a great quality truck and I can come in and I can make this pickup on time and do this and do that. That's great. One of the things that Adam may say, you're not special. Now, I'm not saying that. I think you're special. I think everyone's special. Now, as far as that goes, in terms of having that relationship directly with her or him, they get to know you and they get to know how special you are, but that matters. That makes a difference, So Adam, even for you, I don't remember all the names of the direct shippers that you work with, but when you communicate with me, you don't say ABC company, you'll say Sally, with such and such or whatever their name is, right? And that's what we're talking about. And so when they have a situation or you're at a delivery location and you need to reach out and it's 12 o'clock and then you called Sally and Sally's like, okay, let me help you out. You know what I mean? And Sally answers the phone Does that happen all the time? I don't think so. But you've developed a relationship and you know where to call Sally. You know when you can call Sally. You know how to get in contact with them, right?
Hmm.
Because you are on that other level with them. So that is a big part of, obviously what we teach and talk about, but that's a part that needs to be a part of this whole scenario in building relationships. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And just be ready at all times.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there we go. Jagger's got it. He says, it's good to dress well, no flip flops and scrubs and PJs. Yeah, who's gonna see you and say, come on in my office here. I want to talk to you, see if you could handle a bunch of freight for me. And you're walking in there with your pajamas on and your hair going 72 different directions.
Well,
Uh,
Halloween is coming up, so it might be okay. It's like- so I don't know, but you're right. You're absolutely right.
okay. Cheap Freight Dollar says that is the situation here. I've been there dozens of times. He said if I can get in their list on the corporate level, I could haul out of any plant they have. Well, there you go. That's he's putting it all out there for you. He's gotta slowly walk you down that path. Maybe he doesn't want to, but I think if you continue the conversation, he's just going to give up little bits of it at a time going forward. That's one thing you see a lot, Paul. Is people like to, if you give them enough time and get them talking, they'll tell you the whole story, won't they?
Oh my God, it's amazing. I mean, it's so, like I told you, there are people where I'll call them and they'll act like they know everything. And you know what? I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they do, right? I'm good with that. I totally am good with, because I can learn from them, right?
Hmm.
That's how I approach it. So as we talk and we get on that next level, all of a sudden things are revealed. They might even ask me a question. When they ask me a question, and if you're paying attention and you listen and it's all about them, right? You're going to catch it. You're going to realize, oh, that's an area that they don't know about, right? And then there's a way to talk to them so that they reveal more, right? And this is stuff we teach. And so they're revealing stuff. And the next thing you know, they they're like relying on you, you know what I mean, to answer these questions and what have you. So yeah, it's
Yeah, and Stuart says that comment right there shows how hard the bar is for us. I got a story about that that's very recent. So we do some work for a place off the East Coast.
mm,
Every weekend I try to give them two trucks.
mm,
Some weekends we only have one truck, but I hadn't missed a weekend with them in a year and a half. And I had some drivers had some things come up, lost a guy, and other people had some personal problems at home. I couldn't leave because I had some driver orientations to do. So 3 consecutive weeks I had no truck for them.
mm,
In the fourth week, my driver that was going in there broke down on his way in there, blew a
mm,
radiator,
mm,
missed the load.
mm.
I'm like, uh, we are we're in trouble here. We're done for. Now the people out there were cool about it. They're like, understood, no problem. But I'm like, yeah, that's what people say, right? So this weekend here, I was back to got two trucks in there. And the first thing he said, and I showed this to a couple of drivers that were here because I wanted them to see how things pay off. He's like, "Thank God you're back." He says, "The level of communication from these carriers we've been using is ridiculous. We can't even get them to. There's some special requirements on the freight that require some updates and check calls.
Sure.
Can't get them to do the check calls. Can't get them to do the updates." And I'm like, "Wow, that's if that's all we have to do to stay in their good graces. If they'll tolerate, you know, 4 weeks of no service."
Yeah.
Because all we do is communicate. I'm like, that's something special right there.
Yeah.
And we stuck through them with them for the last year when rates went down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't cut us to the bone. He lowered our rates a little bit. I says, we're in this for the long haul. We're gonna stick by you. And guess what? When I went through a tough time with a lack of drivers and breakdowns, he stuck with me. So I'm very happy about that. And it made the drivers feel good because I shared that with them. See, this guy,
That's
you get
great.
you get these loads because you communicate.
Yeah.
That's all we have to do. The
Yeah.
other people, they can't do it.
Yeah.
They can't do it. So
Yeah.
do that and you get to keep doing this. And they're all like,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And the one thing I really like about that story is you sharing it with your people, right? because your people, they want to feel valued. They want to feel like they're doing a good job. They want to feel like the organization, that they're representing is doing a great job. And, like you say, it pays off. And so with that, you're able to also get buy-in, right, to other things that that come up, and help the company to go to the next level. So there's different levels to all this, layers to all this, but it is, just what you said. Here is who we are. You can stand on that now when you go to another company, right? Another shipper. That is something that you're bringing to the table. And not only are you just saying it, right? We just said words. Anybody can say this and say that, but the action is what matters. And you have proof of the action. You see what I mean? So again, there's so many layers to what you just said, and so much more that can come from it, and help you to get to where you really want to get to, not just get into this industry and all of a sudden become jaded and it's like, man, I'm just trying to make it, every day. You can get back to dreaming, you know what I mean, about why you got into this business and what you want to see for the company, right, and for your people and all that good stuff. So yeah, man, I appreciate you sharing that with me, because that I hadn't heard that, but that's good stuff.
Yeah, and it goes back to, I don't know why I share that with them, because I want them to know that what they do makes a difference, right? Because
Yep.
sometimes I just tell them things and they think I'm just telling them what to do or whatever, and I'm like, well, they need to see this. So
Yeah.
I shared it with a couple of them, and now when it comes time to try to get involved somewhere else, I don't even have to tell them. They know, like, they just do it without me telling them. They're like, I'm gonna call them and give them the best service. They're like excited to do it because they get direct benefit from it.
I
So
love it.
when I say I'm surrounded by a bunch of good people, that's like, I am. And I don't know why other companies don't take the time to do that. Now, not everybody's willing to listen, you know, um, but it's not that hard, and they have a vested interest in it, and it keeps them happy.
Mhm.
And it really isn't a hard thing for me to do. Sometimes it's hard to get people to buy in,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
eventually they do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that would help with driver retention. One of the biggest industries problems is driver retention.
Yeah.
That would help a lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's number 8 on the list, Adam.
is it?
Yeah.
Give me a quick rundown of what's on the list.
All right, here we go. Number 1 is let me get up here. We know it.
And I'll make a quick
Economy.
comment on each of them. So
You're,
economy,
you're gonna come. Okay, economy. Go ahead.
about damn time they catch up to Paul and I. Keep copycats. Copycats, you're only 2 years late with it.
The 3 years. Anyway, number 2, truck parking.
Legit. That's a legit problem. Yep.
We'll hold that one. Okay, and that's moved up the list. And there's been a lot of money. I think by was it FMCSA or whomever been putting money into that. So number 3, fuel prices.
Legit.
We talked
Legit.
about that
But
today.
work harder on getting your costs down. We have to do our part
Yeah.
in running more efficient businesses. And I'm not picking on any certain kind of truck, but I'm just saying, going forward in this industry, we got competition from areas that never existed before with autonomy and electric vehicles. That's a long ways away. I get it. They're going to be our competition. We have to do better.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Number 4. Driver shortage.
Nonsense. Complete and utter nonsense.
Really?
Company mismanagement is what that comes down to. And
What does that mean? What do you mean?
It would be cheaper for a company to retain drivers than it would to be keep running them through the driver mill.
I've been
And
saying
if there was a driver shortage, nobody would ever be sitting.
Yeah.
It's too much capacity in the market. You can't tell me there's a driver shortage.
There's a video or multiple videos, and this is probably just in general, maybe because I'm a little bit newer to LinkedIn in terms of actually being involved or a participant, but I see a lot of video about retaining good workers, good help, and talks about like micromanaging and all these other things that just drive them away, and so I guess that driver shortage tied to retention, then your answer is somewhere in between there, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Number 5 is driver compensation.
Um, boy, I'm gonna take some heat for this one, but I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no because, well, it's a for the drivers. There's a lot of opportunities out there for people to make a lot of money right now. Now, granted, we live a dog's lifestyle, right? We earn that money,
Yeah.
but there's some really good wages out there right now. If
Hmm.
you're not making enough money as a driver, um, the money's there. It's just somewhere else.
Yeah.
It is a challenge for the company. Now, if they're asking carriers, it is a challenge for carriers to pay
Hmm.
some of these wages. That wages during COVID went through the roof,
Hmm.
and I think a lot of places are trying to find ways to pay it right now.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
money was around during COVID, and things have changed, and just a whole lot of industries as well. The wages have gone up, and but in trucking, you got to be able to make the money in order to pay it out, right?
yeah, I
So
mean, ask
it
this guy
becomes,
right here if there's not enough money in trucking. DB 215.
uh,
He knows where the money's at in trucking.
oh yeah,
He's out there trying to tell everybody.
yeah, that's great. That's well. Let's keep the word going out. Number 6, lawsuit abuse reform.
Yes,
These big.
100%.
Okay,
You know,
these.
we can sit here and hate on mega carriers all we want, but a little piece of your heart's got to go out to Werner
Mm,
with ridiculous lawsuits
mm,
they've had judgments against them.
yeah.
Um, it's it's got to be something done about that.
Mm. Number 7, driver distraction.
100% legit. Yes.
Okay.
See people. With that, I would say driver training. Driver training is very poor. I don't
Mm,
know if that's on the list, but
it is
definitely
not.
driver distraction.
Okay. It might be outside of the top 10, but it's not on the top 10. So driver distraction. Training. When you talk about training, you're talking about like what? I'm just going to plug this. Well, um, well, I'll just say it in this way. So a friend of mine has a CDL school that they started, and she just had her first graduating class. So I think it was yesterday. So that was really awesome and really good to hear. And so I know she's really into it and excited about it all. I don't know much about CDL schools and things like that, but you were talking about training, and I'm sure you're talking about beyond, the
Hmm.
CDL school. But yeah, so any rate, so kudos to her. um let's see, where do we stop off? I said driver distraction, driver retention. There you go. That's
That's a big issue, but the companies can change that.
mm,
Um, Stop abusing drivers' time is a big one. It's well, Chief Trailer Hall says it right here. Vehicle utilization. If they're screaming driver shortage, they should never have drivers that are sitting for days at a time with nothing to do. They
mm,
misutilize equipment and drivers.
mm,
They absolutely do. Uh, a little bit of communication and appreciate, whatever would go a long ways towards keeping a driver
mhm.
rather than training a new one. It's expensive to bring in new drivers. Cost you a fraction of that to retain one you already have.
Wow, yeah, yeah. All right, number 9, driver detention.
Huge issue. Huge
Hmm.
issue. And that goes,
Been that
you
way
can
for a
take
long
that all the
time.
way back to safety with the FMCSA.
Mm,
Nothing will ever change until they change the way that shippers and receivers detain trucks.
mhm,
Hours of service will never be practical and never work when they ignore the real issue, and that is sitting in docks for 8, 10 hours at a time.
mhm,
Or, they have this coercion rule where you can't coerce somebody to break the law, but then if you don't break the law, they can penalize you for being late. There's a whole
mm,
lot of things on that issue,
mm.
but that is an issue that 100% needs to be addressed.
Yeah, it's been around for a while. Just going back up to when you were talking about the drivers, was it compensation? Again, there's a list where carriers were asked, and then there's a list where drivers were asked.
Okay.
So I think it's interesting to hear what you have to say about it. But I would be really interested to know where that would be ranked, based on who we asked. Then the final one is zero emissions vehicles. Number 10.
It's a pipe dream. There's no such thing.
Hmm,
There's just literally no such thing.
no
And to
such
try
thing.
to advance an agenda, they're trying to advance an agenda. I mean,
Hmm,
everything has an emission. It might just not be carbon dioxide. It might not be soot. It might not be particulate matter, but there's some kind
Right.
of emission from that vehicle.
Right.
It could be batteries that have to sit in the landfill for 500 years before they start to degrade. It's something.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, that is our top 10 list. And Adam, I just want to thank you for, your commentary, your comments on each one of those.
Oh, yeah. Completely ridiculous. All of it. Just made it all up.
So yeah, so it's
Yeah, we're getting.
just touching upon one of them real quick again, because the economy is like the thing I really lean on. There is I don't know, it's never changing, it's always changing. I'm sorry, it's always changing, and therefore our industry is always going to have something going on. So once we kind of accept that there's always going to be these changes that are going to happen, and then we try to figure out how to roll with the changes. I think at that point you kind of have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
You're a meme right now, right?
Me?
You know what a meme is, right?
I have an idea, but
There's this whole thing on YouTube about smoke detectors beeping during people's videos.
yeah.
Yeah, your smoke detector's beeping, right?
Oh, there.
The battery's low.
Oh man,
That's funny. I didn't notice that till he pointed it out. Uh,
yeah.
so yeah, okay, we're at over 2 hours here. We'll have to wrap
All
this
right.
up. It's getting a little long, but anything
Okay.
you want to leave people with? Is there opportunity? What should people be doing? What do you think's the next few months holds, and how do people handle it?
Well, I think with probably in the next 10 minutes, I need to handle my smoke detector. But as far as what other people need to be looking at, I mean, there's so many things, as you indicated, that are going on in the world, right? So many things that are going on here at home. There's we didn't even talk about the strikes that are going on, right? I think there's another one that just came up, another strike that's happening. So all these things are occurring, and not only are they occurring, there is opportunity in it all. You know what I mean? So as you talk about being an individual and stepping up to the plate or whatever the case is, understand that I believe, I mean, in the end, everything just might blow up and we're all done, right?
It's
But
kind
in
of
the
looking that way.
meantime, huh?
I'll be honest, it's kind of looking that way.
Well, it's probably coming, right? But I'm like, in the meantime, you know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
in the meantime, why not enjoy what we've got, right? So
Hmm.
there's opportunities that do exist when things, not so great things happen, right? So let's get around some like-minded people, and see those opportunities and figure out how to go after them. I'm open to talking about it. I'm open to supporting and helping and all that good stuff, because I just think that people could enjoy what they do a lot better. So,
There you have it.
yep.
Well said. Well said. And how do
Yes, sir.
people get a hold of you? Do you want them to call you? You want them to leave you alone? What do we want to do?
No. Reach out to me. There's the www.fr8connect.com. You can give me a call, 816-703. No, is that the right one? 816. No, that's the wrong number.
It is.
Eight
God, you didn't
six
finish it.
866-342-0040, extension 109. Again, 866-342-0040, extension 109. And then you can also get me on my email, I guess, Paul, Paul.k at fr8connect.com.
Can they sign up for that newsletter you're doing right now? The
Yeah.
First Impressions series.
Yeah. They
Can
can
they sign
go
up to get that?
to the website. I don't have anything really specific like newsletter, but you go online and you sign up there to get like a free account. We'll serve that as a newsletter request, right? Or you can even go to contact us page and you can fill that out and say, interested in newsletter.
At least get the newsletter. It's pretty cool. So, um, everybody, thanks for joining us today. Thank you,
Yeah.
Paul, for coming in. Stick around for a second, and the
Yeah.
rest of you,
Appreciate it.
we'll see y'all later.
All right. Thank you.